and welcome to Point Counterpoint. The opinions expressed by the show's host will many times conflict, thus the title, Point Counterpoint. Point Counterpoint is a weekly issue show for our area. Point Counterpoint always lets you judge for yourself. We live in an information free-for-all. It's hard to see through the misinformation and get to the accurate facts. That's what is right and best for our community. We will not libel, discriminate, or disrespect anyone on their views. We believe in the constitutional First Amendment, the right of free speech, and we support everyone who voices their opinion as part of their duty to their community. This program brings you just that, unedited, honest discussion of the issues. The producers take no responsibility for the opinions and comments made on the show by our guests, or the information they gather from public sources. The intent of this show is to thoroughly research current issues that affect our community and present the facts surrounding the issues, discuss the pros and cons, and then present to our viewing audience what we together or individually feel is the best solution for both the community and the public. This show is a property of the producers and may not be rebroadcast without written permission from the producers. The producers take no responsibility for the opinion of others or in the posting of comments in chat rooms, blogs, video logs, forum posts, or other media. Ideas and suggestions for the show are welcome and encouraged. We can be reached at 46360show@excite.com. Our shows will air on Comcast Cable Access and will be rebroadcast by us on YouTube under the label Point Counterpoint, 46360 show, 8 p.m. That's when Comcast will broadcast our show, 8 p.m. Monday evening, and it will be available all the time on YouTube. Point Counterpoint, the 360 show. Again, welcome to Point Counterpoint, the 360 show, produced by myself, Dwayne Perry, and host Tony Hendricks. We hope you enjoy the topics, the discussion, and the show. So let's get started. Tony, what do we have on our agenda for today?
Thanks, Dwayne. So today, we've been on, this is our 5th show, right? 5 shows. We would like, and we thank you for anyone's comments. We've gotten some, it's good. We thank you for feedback, any ideas and improvements, anything anyone wants to talk about, we're up for it. As long as it's positive and moves the city forward in the 46360 district, in the county, in our region. We would like to today take the time to discuss where we've been. It's our 5th show, a wrap-up show. And since we have a time slot now, 8 o'clock on Monday, right after News and Views, I understand. And we have this on YouTube. You can watch any of our old shows there too. They're loaded. We would like to take this show to do a wrap-up. And the next 5 shows, the next 5 weeks, we are going to rerun on our 8 o'clock airing on Monday. The first 4 shows and this show as a summary. So we'll be back live
5 weeks from today.
5 weeks from today, somewhere in June. So today we'd like to rerun what we did. We said we were going to do 5 topics, 10 minutes each show. This show's a little different. We might change the format a little bit in the future, and we'll go over that after this summary. So today, the summary we're going to have of all our 5 shows, I'll leave it up to you. You made a list, and we can tell you where we've been, what we talked about, and where we think we're going to go. So leave you open for what we did in the first show, which was, what was that? May 22nd.
Yeah, we started April 22nd with our 5 topics that we had on our opening show. We talked about the Cheney Run floodplain, the roundabout that the city wants to install at the monument on the north side of the Trail Creek Bridge at the harbor, the 7th Street Water Park, which has already started work. They've started demolition of the old Woolworth and Kresge buildings. The rent-a-bike program that the city wants to put in place for visitors and whoever wants to rent a bike to ride around the downtown district and other areas of town, and housing values, which Tony and I disagreed on. What coming first, the chicken or the egg? Tony feels we've got to have education, and then jobs, and I feel jobs, then education. So that was our first show.
Quick wrap up on the first show. Cheney Run floodplain.
Well, as we said last week, we received the complete package of information from the DNR that was submitted to FEMA. Tony and I looked at it. We're both very technically oriented. We feel that if several areas where the flow of the water under flood conditions is restricted, if those areas are widened underneath the CSX railroad track, the South Shore track, and one or two of the streets, that will greatly reduce the size of the floodplain. It won't eliminate it, but it will greatly reduce it. We're hopeful to the point where residents won't be affected.
And that meeting, or those maps are August 4th, is that correct?
Yes, we had those on our
Proposed map.
What's that?
The proposed map.
The proposed map is now been issued to the city. The city now, sometime before August 4th, will publicly state that they have that information and announce a date for remonstration for anybody that disagrees with it.
So we're looking for some sort of meeting from the DNR and Michigan City to hold a public hearing comment time frame before August 4th, if the date holds up on the map. That date's not official yet, but August 4th, 2017 is the date on the map.
August 4th is the official date that it'll come into effect. The date for remonstration, the city will have to decide on that. That was our first program.
Well, wait, and then let me go over a couple issues here. The roundabout. That was just, we heard there's some discussion on the roundabout, a possible roundabout where the monument is north of the bridge. With a reversible lane over the bridge, because we know the bridge is only 3 lanes. There was also, and that's why I want to stop you, there was an article in the paper, and we brought this up last show, and it's on our website, our YouTube channel. May 25th, and that's coming up, May 25th, LaPorte County Commissioners is holding a public information meeting at the council chambers here in Michigan City at 5:30 p.m., open house, 6 o'clock presentation. That's May 25th. The county commissioners are holding a meeting with an engineering firm to discuss the possibilities or the future of the Franklin Street Bridge, and they want your input. If you have anything to say about it or any ideas, please show up. That's May 25th, 5:30 p.m. There's an open house and a 6 p.m. presentation. I believe they're going to discuss anything. Everything's on the table. The county commissioners, LaPorte County, controls that bridge. Michigan City does not. They have the money and they control it, and they're looking with an engineer on the future of that bridge being as old as it is.
Very important that you be there if you're interested. It's a beautiful bridge. It's ornamental in nature, and believe it or not, there are entities in our county that want to do away with that bridge. Either put traffic,
fixed span.
A fixed span, which would be much less attractive. It would be much higher.
Oh, it has to be taller.
Because there's a Coast Guard requirement to allow sailboats underneath it. Mm-hmm. So be there, because you could be very unhappy with the results if you don't voice your opinion.
And then the 7th Street Water Park, you said they were taking the buildings down.
Yes, I drove by yesterday and saw the northwest corner of the wall of the Woolworth building wide open. It broke my heart. It was a fine building. That the corner was the Woolworth department store that had a luncheon counter. Next to that, to the south, was the SS Kresge's Five and Dime. Huh. They were structurally sound buildings that comments were made by a city planner that they were not, but I went through the Warren building before renovation started. That's a beautiful building. Now, at least the east side that faces Franklin Street. Don't look at it as you drive north on Washington Street, because they've done, the project, in my opinion, is not done. They've done nothing to the north, south, and west sides of that building other than replace the windows. They haven't washed the building, painted the concrete beams. They haven't done anything. And so that's underway now.
But it was in the paper, LaPorte, they had some paper, or a picture in, I don't know if our paper or Herald Argus, about LaPorte's got a little pocket water park there at Monroe and Lincoln Way, and there were some kids out playing on that on Wednesday, so that was in the paper, and that's kind of what, I presume that's kind of what we're looking at. We don't know. The rent-a-bike program, haven't heard anything about it, have you?
Nothing since we talked about it.
Yeah, we know it went to a city council, what do they call it, not a meeting, a workshop.
Yeah.
It went to a workshop.
It hasn't been back on the floor yet of the council.
And then housing values, again, there's a direct return on education with housing values. So what do we do on the second show, 429?
Okay, 429, this Cheney Run issue has been ongoing. It takes time to get information out of the government. I had a hard time just establishing a contact originally. So we gave you an update on 429, more information on a Cheney Run plane, as much as we had at the time. Tony and I dug deeper into the Rent-A-Bike program, looking at other cities that have put this in place. We would be, if Michigan City puts this in place, we're going to be the smallest city in the entire United States to have a Rent-A-Bike program.
By far.
By far. Closest city was somewhere in Massachusetts,
Yeah, Massachusetts.
80,000 people, and we're only at 29,000. So, almost 3 times our size. We talked more about the South Shore station, the scenario of replacement of the station, which I have some real concerns about, because as it stands right now, replacement of the station is all that's going to be saved is the front facade, and the agreement is that the NICD will save the front facade, providing that they can move it 12 feet for less than $1.5 million.
Your understanding of the agreement. We haven't seen the agreement.
No, I'm sorry. So I stand corrected. Thank you. That's the agreement as we know it from the media, and what was said at council meetings. Then we move on to the waterfront liquor licenses, which I will be talking about at our next regularly scheduled program with a new agenda. I have a lot more information on that I'm going to share with the public. And finally, we talked about it on the April 29th show. We talked about the new 10-cent a gallon fuel, $10 a tire, or $5 a tire.
For new tires.
For new tires. Every time you buy new tires, each tire is going to cost you $5.
Well, I haven't seen that yet, so I've heard in the media that's what it is. I haven't.
It's on the floor of the state legislature.
Everything's
right
done now. I haven't read the final bill. So.
And $15 for your registration.
Saw that in the paper.
Each year when you get your new tags, it's going to cost you $15 more per vehicle.
So a little update on that one. I talked to LaPorte County Highway, because I remember I read the article in South Bend Tribune that they said they do about 22 miles a year, and St. Joe County has 2,200 miles. So it would take them 100 years, and roads last 15 to 20 years. They can't get to all the roads. So I looked at LaPorte County. What do we have? So we do about 30 miles a year, and we have about 1,200 miles. So 30 miles, 10 years, you do 300 miles, so 30 years. So it takes us 30 years. So we're not so bad at St. Joe, but we never get around to doing all the roads. And that doesn't include Johnson Road, 400 North, Long Lane, Joliet Road. Some of our roads that are used a lot, especially Johnson Road. Oh, that constantly busy. And I didn't find out, and maybe that's what I'll bring up sometime in the future, what the cost was to repave Johnson Road when we did it about 8 years ago, 7 years ago. Maybe somewhere around 8-10 years ago we redid it, Johnson Road, and it looks like it's going to need it again. Anyone drives on it, it's starting to get a little ragged. We try to keep it up, but so LaPorte County does 30 miles, 1,200 miles about what we have. So 30 times 10 is 300, times 4, that's 1,200 miles. So I was wrong. About 40 years to get our roads paved, the whole cycle. We know they only last 15 to 20 years. 40 years is too long. So there's my update on.
Well, one little tidbit of information I feel I need to add on that. The estimated cost by the state for an entire maintenance program is $800 million, and the state has a $2 billion surplus. And my feeling is that it's wrong every time you need. It's part of maintenance. It's part of our job. In Michigan City, it's part of the city's job to pick up your garbage, pave your streets, plow your snow. It's part of the state's responsibility to maintain our roads. And for the state to go ahead and pass a tax so that they don't have to dip into their surplus funds, I feel is wrong.
I'm glad you brought that up. I agree 100%. We have $2 billion. $2 billion. And we've discussed this. The government's not a bank, nor should it ever be a bank. And if you look at, and I read the article, I remember who the representative senators were in Northwest Indiana Times, because they asked them that very question. Why do you have $2 billion and you're increasing the gas tax and fees and all other things? And Representative Scott Pelath, our article, at a annual course, I think, in the News Dispatch. And he said the same thing. Why are we sitting on $2 billion when it's the government's job, like you said, to take care of the roads and the schools and the plowing, and we take care of all that. That's what we do. We are the government. We get taxed. So why are our representatives taxing us or bringing more fees on while they're holding money? I'm not in agreement with it. I hate taxes and fees. If we have $2 billion, spend that, and then if you need more money, sorry, you're a politician, you got to come back and ask for it if you need more. But $2 billion to sit in the bank, I have a real hard time with that one. Thanks for bringing that up.
Okay, then we moved on to our May 6th program. The week before our program, I was watching a planning commission meeting, and in the update that was given by our city planning director, he announced that Michigan City has engaged a municipal planning company for a 18 to 24 month plan for Michigan City's future development. Couple $100,000 again for another plan will be what would that be, the 41st plan on the shelf?
No, we said we're over 40.
We're over 40 plans since 1940.
And this was an independent plan.
This is an independent
Michigan City
plan.
alone. The last one we did was LaPorte City, LaPorte County, Michigan City banded together.
Well,
This is
I beg to
Michigan City
disagree
alone.
with you. We had the Hyatt Palma plan, which was exclusively Michigan City, and before that we had the Lake Michigan Gateway implementation
Well, I
plan.
thought this plan was going for a zoning ordinance, a new change in the zoning ordinance. This is a comprehensive plan. Yeah, you're right. We had
Yeah, I
Hyatt
think it's-
Palma, and we had
Lake Michigan Gateway
Lake Michigan
implementation,
Gateway.
which that's where you got your two-way streets on Washington and Pine, was the Lake
the
Michigan Gateway.
Lohan-Anderson plan,
The Lohan-Anderson plan, and
and then 40 others sitting in the library.
yeah.
But yeah,
Can't remember
I
them
didn't
all.
mean to interrupt you, but yeah, Michigan City's going on their own here. And a side note, it was also in the paper, some individuals from the county went and asked the commissioners to approach the county council for $25,000 a year for a comprehensive plan or some sort of plan for the county. So seems like we're all going our separate ways again.
Which is unfortunate because we do support each other, or we should. Okay, also during that program, we talked about opening up the Mount Baldy Beach.
Yeah, you have a plan.
DNR, the Department of Natural Resources has opened the beach.
The beach only.
And I said, put me in the driver's seat and I'll open up the mountain too. I'll open up Mount Baldy, the beach, and I'll protect the parking lot for $200,000.
Okay,
Okay, on to the
that's a
third
good
point.
bonus.
We talked about the new apartment complex on Memorial Hospital site, the old Memorial Hospital. 50 apartments, and we've been assured that they will be upscale apartments, which I have real questions about based on the unit prices of so much a square foot. That's how they look at apartments. That we were told, and this was all stated during the Planning Commission meeting by, the apartment complex was discussed by John Doyle, who represents the city in that.
The redevelopment committee.
Yes, the redevelopment commission. And the comment was made that the apartments would rent for over $1 a square foot. And looking at other areas in Northwest Indiana, they're going to have to be substantially over $1 a square foot to be upscale apartments. Because Normandy Village runs at 90 cents a square foot. So that says a
And these
lot.
were apartments without really any amenities. They're just apartments and parking areas.
Yes.
The other
that's
places they mentioned in the Plan Commission had a lot of amenities.
it. Lake Village, or
real nice places. Burns Harbor and
Burns Harbor was the
Valparaiso,
village, and Valparaiso was on the lake, or
something like
something
that.
like
So
that.
they had amenities. They had
oh yeah, looks like a
Walking track.
total development. Green space, recreational area,
workout area.
not just apartments. Okay, then
You skipped the double track, didn't you?
oh yeah, we talked about South Shore double track, who's in and who's out.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Because
who's in, who's out?
the communities are dropping like flies. We've got 5 or 6 out right now.
Northwest
Hammond,
Indiana Times.
Munster, Hammond,
Highland.
Portage, Gary.
They're all concerned that they
They're all-
don't have the money to pay.
now that they're seeing what the finished final cost is going to be. I sat through this when I was on the council, and we didn't know what the final cost was going to be because we weren't given it. It was all conceptual. And now that the dollars are starting to become clear, these communities are saying they can't afford it.
Now wait a minute, Munster had a meeting last week, and there were some concessions about moving the station and some green space and some areas that they were going to block all the noise from. So I don't know if Munster's in or out again, but they I guess they put up enough that they had a special meeting in Munster, and the South Shore came there and they made some concessions. I've said it all along. Michigan City should ask for what Michigan City needs, not what South Shore needs.
Exactly.
I saw when they first started this, it was because of the positive train control, and people brought pictures, and you can go up to Gary and look. When they have double track, they have chain link fence and they have garbage. Yeah. Michigan City should ask. That's not going to happen here. We're not going to allow you to come through and put garbage fence up and a bunch of trash. And also Michigan City has, well, we talked about News and Views, 16 streets that are closing. There was discussion about emergency services on those 16 streets. They just dead end. I looked up and down the track, and anyone can do it, go on Google. I think Michigan City is the only place on the South Shore line that will have dead end roads and no frontage roads. Everywhere else on the South Shore line, they have a frontage road that runs along the track so you don't dead end road. I think Michigan City will be the only place. I could be wrong. Email me, tell me I'm wrong. I looked up and down on Google. We're the only guys.
Frontage roads are imperative for services. Emergency services, police, fire, city services, busing, of the kids to school,
plow.
garbage. Without service roads, you have to have a large cul-de-sac at the end of each road. And even then, that's not efficient. You go in the road, you go back out, onto the next road. This is not well planned for Michigan City. I asked, we were told we're going to have a station. I asked, define a station to me. Is it going to be like we used to have, a fully enclosed building with ticket agents, with a luncheon counter? The old South Shore station used to have a magazine stand, a luncheon counter, ticket agent,
shoe shop,
a barber shop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna be able to get in out of the weather. Well, you can get in out of the weather at the Indianapolis Boulevard station, and it's not much of a station.
So Munster showed us the way. Maybe Michigan City will say, "Wait a minute, we're in." But
I hope so.
We want some things. We want some things here for our town. We don't just want you barreling through town, 45 mile an hour. Isn't that right? I think the last thing I read was
That's
45 mile an hour.
Do.
45 mile an hour through town. Okay, go on.
I don't know if it's going to happen, though. I don't know if there's going to be that many questions asked, because there are too many people in Michigan City that think unquestionably, without even asking questions, this is the best thing to ever happen to us.
Well,
they've got their heads buried in the sand so far, they're never going to see daylight.
The paper said it's contingent on the federal government doing $290 million, so we'll see.
Okay, then the last topic we talked about in our May 6th show was our waterfront, what we can do to it, and what we need to, how we need to view our waterfront. What share of the tourist market are we going to get? I had pictures of all of the communities west of us, starting, even though it's not a community, starting with Dune State Park, that's been there for God only knows how many years.
Work in progress, right?
Portage, onto Whiting. Whiting's going to have the first floating play park on the Great Lakes. They're buying it from some firm in Europe or Africa. It's unbelievable. Competition for weekend visitors is so keen, we need to be fairly sure of what our part of that market is going to be before we go crazy on the lakefront.
Yeah, but boy, I said it on the show and I'll say it again. If someone in this administration or the park department or redevelopment board is not calling up those people that Whiting has, we're just letting it slip by. That thing, I guarantee you my kids want to go there at least once this summer, maybe multiple times. To go to something of that size just down the road, unbelievable.
Our beach is in the vicinity of 5 times as big as Whiting. They have a very small beach.
Oh, they're going to get us this year with that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then our last show, before today was the 13th of May. We talked about the new St. Anthony's Hospital being built south of County Road 400 in the city versus out of the city, and it's hard for me to do when I have to say that I was wrong. St. Anthony's does not pay property taxes, whether they're in the city or out of the city, so there's no advantage to St. Anthony's building south of, no financial tax shelter advantage
we
to
won't
them
lose
building
a bunch of money.
south of 400. Then we talked about a concept that we're going to get into extendedly today, starting today, Michigan City, your destination, about what we're going to do to achieve the goals of what our to achieve our current goals is to make us a destination location for travelers and tourists.
Destination Michigan City.
Yep. And then after that, we went back to the lakefront. I said I could put a boardwalk. I would put a boardwalk in there.
You did your homework.
Talking about improvements.
Did your homework.
Something that not only out-of-towners would enjoy, it would open up more beach. I said I'll put.
Was it $8 million, 800,000?
It was just under 700,000, and it was a 1,450 lineal feet of boardwalk along the Fetters Alley area
Right.
and along the west side of the senior center, up 150 feet toward the lakefront, past the beach grass. And I compared it to about the first thing that came to my mind, which was Phase 2 of Michigan Boulevard, which I didn't feel was necessary. Our streets need more tender loving care than they need replacement. Phase 2 of Michigan Boulevard was 800,000, was Michigan City's portion of it, and I think 700,000 for a beach walk is a lot more bang for our buck. Not beach walk, excuse me, boardwalk.
Boardwalk.
That was it. That's it.
No, we did Cheney Run floodplain.
Oh yeah, oh okay, I was back a week.
2 left on that.
2 left. We got the information and we analyzed it on the Cheney Run floodplain.
Oh yeah, resolution and cost. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're looking at that.
Because we feel that if Michigan City takes the appropriate action, which will have to be done by Michigan City, they'll have to absorb the cost, that we can substantially reduce the size of the floodplain 60 to 70%, I think. And then we finished up with our difference of opinion.
Education Michigan City. The payback is 25, 50, 75%. As the education gets better, property values follow increasingly.
And I feel that, although I feel education and jobs are like the chicken or the egg, whichever comes first, I feel that jobs will contribute to property values increasing and improvements in education faster than having educated people in town. Educated people in town hold better jobs. Better jobs require more educated people. So we go back and forth on that, Tony and I do.
I think the jobs will give it the last big
Push it over the hump.
It'll be that,
Yeah.
education's here, and then here comes jobs, and just goes even higher.
So those were the 4 shows that leading up to today. And if you missed them, watch them. There's some good stuff. We do our homework, and we present very optimistic, in most cases, optimistic positions that the city can move forward.
So now we want to go on to something different. Now something different. We started this off doing 5 topics, 10 minutes each, because we don't want to go over just one topic for 40 minutes. I think we can just beat it to death. We have plenty of time. It's an hour-long show, so I've been working on something. I live on Dewey Street, and I didn't realize, I was in my parking lot one day waiting for my kids to get in the car to go to school, and I didn't realize, what makes my neighborhood cohesive. So let me bring this up first. We'll see if we can do this. Dwayne and I started talking about it. This is what we understand. If we're missing something, please tell us. We all talk about Elston Grove, the Krieger Neighborhood Association. They have a whole neighborhood association,
Yes,
right?
they do.
Edgewood, And then maybe Old Edgewood, Village Green, very well known, very well done. Village Green, boy, they have an identity. They get together. Their roads are getting done. They're getting stuff done in Village Green. They have the yearly garage sale, which I think is coming up. I believe we had something called the Wabash neighborhood that we talked about.
Well, when the Wabash streetscape was being conceived, historically, the Redevelopment Commission decided that that area should be noted as the Barker Haskell.
Barker Haskell.
I think those are two principal figures in the Pullman Standard facility when Michigan City, what is now Lighthouse Mall, was a large railroad car manufacturing facility. Pullman.
And then we all know about Midtown. So that's what's Midtown, approximately Greenwood, somewhere north of St. Stan's, probably.
Yeah, I would say Greenwood to Ripley, which is I believe along Franklin, both sides from Greenwood up to Ripley, which would be where you would turn into to get the old Elston High School.
And then we all know the downtown or uptown or whatever, the Uptown Arts District, the downtown. So those are the ones we're aware of, and maybe we missed some, and you can tell us. But we wanted to, in my neighborhood, we don't have a cohesive identity. What is my neighborhood? Between Greenwood, Tilden, East Barker Avenue, and maybe even Franklin, what's my neighborhood? It's a good blue-collar neighborhood. We don't ask for much. We got our alleys paved in our streets, and we want to keep our sidewalks up to date, and they're working on some of them. But, what draws my neighborhood together? We had an issue in our neighborhood a couple years ago with a bad tenant in an apartment, and we all got together. We had a meeting at the local church in our neighborhood. We discussed, and Michigan City Police came along. It was great. They told us what we could do to discuss neighborhood watch, things of that nature. So I sat there and thought, what's my neighborhood? What do I do to make a cohesive neighborhood and work together like Village Green or Edgewood? So here is, I call it the Sanborn neighborhood. This is kind of neat. So it's Barker Avenue, East Barker Avenue, Tilden, the CSX tracks, and over here at Franklin. It's not that big, but it's a neighborhood, and our kids run around the neighborhood. We got Dairy Queen, and we got, we talked about before it came on here, Marsh School. Well, Marsh School is up here just out of our neighborhood, what I would consider the Sanborn neighborhood. And I got it because we had Sanborn Street. Now, if you look at, it's kind of neat when I thought about it, and I thought, what makes my neighborhood unique? It's the Sanborn neighborhood. Sanborn was a company that put together fire maps for fire stations and firefighters to know when they go to a fire, what are they in for? Is it a block building? Is it a brick building? Is it a 2x4 building? Wood frame building? What kind of stucco on the side? What kind of building are, a fire's here? We got to go out there. We got to be prepared. What kind of fire are we going to fight? Is it industrial? Is it commercial? Is it residential? What kind of building? So Sanborn is still a company, been around hundreds of years, still around. So I called it the Sanborn neighborhood. I don't think Dwayne's ever seen this.
No, this is my first time seeing this sign.
This is true size, full size. Just like when you have Elston Grove and you have Village Green. These are placards you would put up in our neighborhood, and I talked to my council people before. I've had 3 different ones, but I've talked to Candace so far too. What does this do? Can we put these up around our neighborhood? I'm thinking 10 of them. So when you come around Barker Avenue, Franklin, Tilden, Greenwood, you see you're entering the Sanborn neighborhood. We have an identity. We're a cohesive group. We try to watch out for our neighborhood and the kids in our neighborhood and the property values in our neighborhood. We have an agenda, what we would like to see. So I made this up, had this printed out myself, no cost to the city. And we'd like to ask the city maybe to pay for 10 of these to put them up around our neighborhood to say, this is the Sanborn neighborhood. You're welcome. We're proud of our neighborhood. We keep it clean. We really like it. We are part of Michigan City, but this is our identity, just like Krieger, Edgewood, Village Green, Wabash, Elston Grove. We have a neighborhood identity too that we, maybe we'd have a garage sale just like Village Green. Maybe do things. So this is a true size to see these.
And I've got to admit that when Tony first hit me with this was his idea, I was a little bit skeptical because I've always looked at Michigan City as Michigan City, one whole. But the more I thought about it, I think this is good. We hope to give people an appreciation of the neighborhood they live in, give them some background, give them a reason to be proud of their neighborhood, and be proud of
a
this.
unique identity. Maybe
Yeah.
we call it the United Neighborhoods of Michigan City. We
give-
are Michigan City. Each neighborhood is unique, and we band together.
Exactly. It gives hopefully, as we do have more visitors come to Michigan City, they'll see these signs, and these signs will give them an idea of the character of Michigan City, that it's an older town, that it was developed in sections, in steps, and that it has a definite identity.
Now, what came to me, because in the surveying engineering world, we deal with real estate agents all the time. So what do they do when they come into my neighborhood? They say, now, there's a house for sale out here on Allen Street. They just drive in. They don't do that. If there's a house for sale in Village Green, you're entering Village Green neighborhood.
Yep.
You're entering Elston Grove. Now with a lot of neighborhoods in town, there's no, hey, that's in the Sanborn neighborhood. You'd like to buy a house, that's kind of a nice, nice little blue-collar neighborhood. People keep it up nice. This is a Sanborn neighborhood. And that gives an identity and a cohesive desire for the people that live there to take care of their neighborhood and ask for what they need as one voice. So when somebody comes to the city council or the board of works and says, I need a speed bump or something's happening in my neighborhood, they don't ask, well, where are you? Well, we're in the Sanborn neighborhood. Well, we're in Village Green. And that's where we'd like to take a part of this show, because we told you we were going to do 5 topics, 10 minutes each. I would like to take 10 minutes or 20 minutes or maybe even 30 minutes if it takes that long to pick a neighborhood and just go over it in detail as an identity. And we're not saying these are your identities. We're going to tell you. I mean, I can't call it Sanborn neighborhood. The neighbors I talk to think it's a good idea. What we need some public input. We need our council. We need our mayor, our board of works on board. Is this something we want to pursue? But I just thought I'd put it out there. So we'd like to take our show and talk about maybe a neighborhood identity. And since we're going to piggyback off of the citywide program, the comprehensive plan that Michigan City wants to do on its own, we're going to hire somebody to come in here and tell us about our neighborhoods. We don't agree, and tell me if I'm wrong, that somebody needs to come out of town and tell us what we need. We know what we want. We know Michigan City. We know our neighborhoods. We're not going to show up to a public event, very few of us, but if we could start getting some cohesive identity, we would like to do that. So with that, we'd like to start today. And here I'm looking for another board to put up. And we'll see if Dwayne agrees. So we have some discussion here. This is the Eastgate neighborhood. Just pulled it. Just what I understand about this area. This is not Eastport. This is Eastgate. Eastport neighborhood would be over here, police station. So this is the CSX tracks, the South Shore tracks, the South Shore Freight, right? South Shore Freight.
Yep.
CSX, South Shore Freight, South Shore, and Woodland. We think that's a cohesive neighborhood. They have a park, right? They have a
Your
water
bottom
tower.
line is down at
CSX. Because it kind of turns and goes north through here.
all right, I thought we said this was going to extend from Springland Ave.
Well, that's what we're going to discuss today.
Okay.
Should you move it up to Spring? I picked the South Shore because I'm thinking this area might want to go with Krieger. The Krieger neighborhood.
Well, when Tony and I discussed it, and I must say that today it's 2 subjects. We started out with Sanborn, but what we talked about Sanborn today will eventually, we will talk about Sanborn again as we talk about our topic, weekly topic, which will be an area of the city.
A neighborhood.
A neighborhood, and what we feel that neighborhood should receive for future development.
Or whatever
improve.
they need for improvements or home values. And this is kind of what I was picked out. This has the school administration building. It has Eastgate Plaza.
Yeah.
It has the water tower on the boulevard. And there's a park right there. Many people
Water
know
Tower
about
Park, yep.
Water Tower Park.
Well, when Tony tasked me with talking about the Eastgate area today. At first I drew a blank because all we've heard about is Eastport. Eastport has been a topic because of the school, because of the location of the new fire station.
Police station.
Or a new police station for a long time. And then I started thinking about it, and I spent a lot of time in this area when I was young because my family were local business people, Perry's Bakeries, and my dad had a bakery at Eastgate Plaza that was opened when Eastgate Plaza opened.
Oh, it was so good.
So it was, and please don't call me, I don't have a single recipe.
So good. Believe me.
I've been asked for more recipes, but
Anyway.
that was kind of, I don't know why they named it Eastgate Plaza, maybe because at that time, the city pretty much ended in that area. Maybe well, we have Trail Creek, which was its own entity, so it ended somewhere between Carroll Ave and Johnson Road, and they decided to call it Eastgate. But I think that's an appropriate name because you have the different entities. I looked at it and I said, well, okay, I would say that if you need services or conveniences, where am I going to go? And that's what made me say that I would say Springland Ave on south, you would look to the Eastgate area, the Michigan Boulevard area. North of Springland Ave, you would probably tend more to look for something on Highway 12. Carwick and Highway 12. If it's a grocery store, Al's up there, whereas south of Springland Ave, you would have gone to the grocery store that used to be at Eastgate Plaza. There used to be a lot more businesses in that area than there are now.
Harvey's Dime Store.
Oh, when there were 6 businesses in Eastgate Plaza when I was a youngster. We had a restaurant that called Brownies. There were 2 Brownies in town. One was on Michigan Boulevard at the intersection of Franklin and Michigan Boulevard. Another one was at Eastgate Plaza. It was a restaurant very similar to like a 801, like the 801 Cafe.
Like a trolley stop in the mall?
Yeah. Just a small, full-service, full-menu restaurant at that parking shop. They call them strip plazas. I don't know when they started calling them strip plazas. The first term was parking shop. There was a branch of the Citizens Bank.
Yep.
There was a dry cleaner. There was
Yep.
Perry's Bakery. There was Brownies. There was a Harvey's 5 and Dime, a Hook's Drug Store,
Yep.
and a grocery store. And when you look at those services, you had most everything you needed.
Those are neighborhood services.
If you lived within driving distance or walking distance, and believe me, I took a beating when I ran for the 5th Ward in the Queens Apartments. When are you guys going to get something for East Siders? Every time we need something, we've got to go south and west. We used to have it all right here. And that's what I feel makes that its own area.
And you had some ideas.
Yes, I did. I think we need to repopulate that parking shop, make it happen. It's very difficult in this world we live in. I tried to make a connection to get some businesses back in there. That complex is owned by someone way out of state. I took a look at several of them, so I can't remember who owns what. I looked at Marquette Mall. I looked at the old Jim's Fiesta Village at the corner of Woodland and 20, and I looked at Eastgate Plaza. The furthest one was owned by someone in Africa. This one, I think, was a European owner. I don't know why this has happened. We don't have enough ownership by local people anymore or local businesses, but we need to change that because we lose control, like you've seen with Marquette Mall. We've totally lost control of that because it's not Indiana owned anymore. And we need to take a look at that. We had a community center in it used to be called Suburban Lanes. It was a bowling alley that was on a boulevard, which is now closed. Had a bar and a restaurant, had a bowling alley.
Yeah, I put that in there, didn't I? That's in this.
Yeah.
Suburban Lanes is here.
Suburban Lanes.
Closed. Now
We need to take Water Tower or Tower Park. I don't know if it's called Water Tower, but right next to the Water Tower on the east side, it has softball diamonds or Little League diamonds for younger kids. Has a basketball court, has playground equipment. To my knowledge, has no lights. We need to make this a park that can be enjoyed up to early evening hours. We need to improve this park. We need to focus on this area. I look at what the Boulevard needs as just a couple basics. I think we need a full-service chain grocery store, like an IGA, like a Kroger,
Whole Foods, Trader Joe's,
Trader Joe's. We need a
mini Walmart.
mini Walmart. We need a good, large drugstore so that people can get their medicine, they can get their daily essentials, their hygiene products, the grocery store, and then we need a good family restaurant. Something along the lines of a Bob Evans, a Perkins Steakhouse, Pancake House, IHOP, something where you can take your family to, and anyone in the family can get what they want. Everyone in the family can get what they want to eat.
So you're almost talking like an anchor, a destination to pull the whole thing.
Every area of the city needs anchors that identify with that area.
That's a good idea. It's a real good idea.
And I think you'll see a lot of good things happen on the boulevard that are not happening now. That if we get the right businesses there, you'll see changes.
What anchors a neighborhood? That's a good idea. Let's do that. What
I think we need anchors on Franklin Street.
On every neighborhood. What's the anchor of the neighborhood? No,
Well,
we have the school administration building, right there. Is there any other park in this area that I outlined?
Well, there's private parks. There's Queen of All Saints. They have an
Some play
area.
facilities.
There's an open field on the east side of the school administration building, which is public property.
Well, could we
All the
put a park in there? It'd be nice.
Yeah, that's big enough for a nice park.
Because there's a lot of residences right here. The south side of this little East Gate area that we're talking about.
Between Springland Ave and Barker Ave, and what I defined as those boundaries, actually, it wouldn't be Carroll, it would be Risky. You go east of Risky and you're in Trail Creek. So if I lived on Risky, I would look to Eastgate Plaza for my necessities.
Well, they have a Subway, right?
Yeah, they have a Subway.
McDonald's. And we have the police administration building out there, right? Or fire administration building.
Fire administration buildings there that once upon a time was an acting fire station.
I mean, it just looks like there's something we could do. We want to bring this out? What does if it was the Eastgate neighborhood? What would they want? What would good for their kids, their home values, their neighborhood? Again, I don't know if we just made this up.
Well, I think
if it was an Eastgate placard, what would their little sign look like? You're entering the Eastgate neighborhood. We're proud you're here. Happy you'd like to spend some time. Please come back again. We're a proud neighborhood of Michigan City. Something like that.
I think we pretty well hit it on the head when we talked about the different businesses. You need look at a snowstorm. When you have a snowstorm, what do you worry about? People worry about getting their medicine. You have to have a drugstore.
Milk, eggs, and bread.
Yep. So there's your grocery store, your pharmacy. You have the 5 and dime for families with small children.
Well, they have the dollar store, which isn't in this neighborhood. That'd be in the Eastport neighborhood if we're doing that. That'd be just down the road a little bit, but that's not a
big store. You could have a dollar store in every neighborhood in town, and they would flourish. It's a wonderful place to buy necessities, and they're competitively priced.
Oh yeah, it's very competitively priced. We have a lot of them in town. But
I think we could use anchors in every neighborhood of town.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
And I really don't.
A different kind of anchor. So each neighborhood has like an anchor, like.
And I really don't believe it would affect the big, what we call the box stores. They're still gonna flourish because the neighborhood anchor stores will carry the necessities. They'll carry 2 or 3 brands of ketchup, a few brands of barbecue sauce, but they won't carry the wide range that the big chain stores like Meijer, like Walmart, like Jewel, when we had Jewel, used to carry. And those stores will be frequented by the people that have more mobility or that are that interested to the level. To me, ketchup is ketchup. I've met people that will use only Heinz ketchup or Del Monte. So those people will be able to get what they want. That'll stay unchanged. But for the people that don't have cars or that can't drive very far, their neighborhood will be serviced. It'll be taken care of.
So the point of this was, I just picked Eastgate. I just said, hey, we're doing Eastgate. And I just
I
kind of
think
guessed
you did it
Eastgate.
to stump me.
I just did
Put me on the spot.
And the point of this is we'd like to maybe set aside some time in every show for neighborhood. That would require us to do some homework. I think I've ridden my bicycle on every street in this town since I was a kid, when I was a teenager. But it wouldn't hurt me now to go drive through and see what's in those neighborhoods, you know.
And with your help, we can be very effective.
So we go to each neighborhood, we bring it on the show, and maybe we tell you the next week prior what neighborhood we're thinking about, and email some ideas. Give us a call. Tell us what you think. We'll drive around.
Can we let that cat out of the bag today? You want to?
We'll do Eastgate. Our next show we'll do. Do you want to do Eastgate next show?
No, we did Eastgate.
Well, I think we're going to need to do Eastgate. Like we'll have like a
Let's
list.
do Eastport.
We'll do Eastport. We'll have like a
Eastgate
list of what's good in the neighborhood, and then maybe what they need. And we don't want to step on anyone's toes here, but you know, if we just take a drive around and say, this is what we see. Looks like, just like my neighborhood, they'd like to have these sidewalks redone. They would, maybe a little pocket park would be good right here, or maybe a basketball court, or maybe if we lend some help to Eastgate Plaza, some low cost interest or something from somewhere, maybe they could fix that up. Maybe we could, you know, I think we should focus on what's in the neighborhood and what we think could help each neighborhood. That way we can get to every neighborhood.
As I said before, I think we can be very successful with your help. We just said we're going to do Eastgate or Eastport.
Eastport.
So if you're interested in the Eastport area, you have some ideas, email them to us. Email them to us so we can prepare for the show and give it some thought.
So Eastport, we're talking like the police station, and a new park was just in the paper the police station put in. We're talking.
What did we say Eastport was?
Eastport, I would presume we would go from.
Springland Ave again on the north, maybe Barker Ave on the south.
I don't know if we go to Springland because you're getting the Krieger. I would say the South Shore, Woodland, the CSX.
South Shore is right at Michigan Boulevard, though.
Well, maybe we
it's
may have to bump it up. Maybe we have to do a jog up to Springland.
Because Krieger, if you go out to Springland, Krieger is way east.
Yeah, I know, but we're going to have to hold that neighborhood they already have.
And we'd like your thoughts on definition of the neighborhood. Because if this thing flies, if there is a lot of interest in it, and the current administration is receptive, then we'll proceed with that, just like
Eastport
the redevelopment.
Eastport would have the cemetery.
Yeah.
And a lot of people exercise. You know, maybe one of the things we want input on is maybe they need some more parking places around the cemetery instead of parking in the grass and the gravel.
Little things like that. Little things like that are good for a neighborhood.
So, you know, so Eastport would be 5 weeks from now.
I myself feel that every neighborhood should have a neighborhood watch. Right after I came into office in 2012, there was a young teenager that was shot and killed behind the Eastport School. And at that time, I went to a Krieger neighborhood meeting, and I suggested that we have neighborhood watches in place. The police department representative, Sergeant Yagelski, kind of poo-pooed that. He said that the police really didn't like that. And once I thought about it, I understood their concern.
I agree too. Yeah,
I understand their concern because people become overly involved and aggressive, and if they see something they don't like, they'll try to take care of it rather than calling the police. My main thought behind neighborhood watches are we have, I don't know how many policemen we have now. We had 90-some when I was on the council, but 90 policemen is not that many sets of eyes. If you have neighborhood watches, you have so many more 24 hours a day. And you just have to have rules in place, like a resident doesn't call a police department until after he's called, if he or she has seen something, until after they've called another member of the neighborhood watch organization and they both agree that it's worthy to call the police.
Well, maybe in today's technology, we could up the neighborhood watch, and I'm sure other communities are doing it, where you go online as a neighborhood and neighborhood watch and post on neighborhood watch for the police to see that, I think something's strange at this house. I didn't want to call you because it's not really important to get a police officer out here, but just something seems funny here. And
Yeah, let the police make that decision.
Just,
But
something
then
strange.
I like that, Tony, because then otherwise you make a call and they dispatch a car to go there, and it takes time away from the officer being in other places.
Yeah, and it's good that it's a neighborhood watch or a neighborhood. So they say, oh, well, this neighborhood's getting a lot of this discussion. Something might be brewing here, or something's not right in this neighborhood. We might need to pay a little more attention to the neighborhood right here. And that's kind of why we're thinking we'd like to devote some time. And we're not saying these are the bounds of these neighborhoods. We're just going to make them up how we see them. If they are, they are. If somebody says you should move one street over, we're fine with that too. I mean, the neighborhood is the neighborhood. Everyone knows
These are just our initial thoughts on it. This is a knee-jerk reaction that we liked, and so we're throwing it out, and we want your feedback, please.
We'd like to get to every neighborhood. Every neighborhood has its needs, and every neighborhood has its unique
I think
qualities.
you'll see changes in the neighborhood. People they'll understand the history of the neighborhood. They'll appreciate the neighborhood more, and if we can get groups in place, neighborhood watches, I think overall it's going to have a very positive effect on Michigan City.
So we got like a little over a minute left. We went over a lot of stuff in the last 4 weeks, and we've been happy and it's been fun. We think some people have missed some shows, so we're on at 8 o'clock on Mondays. We're going to ask Alco Cable Access to run our shows, our last
first
4 shows and this show, so it's 5 weeks. We will come back with a new show in which we will do Eastport, right? Eastport
Yes.
and 4 issues. Sound good?
Yep.
So if you have any comments or suggestions or something you'd like to see, we'd like to do that. Well, we got a minute left here. Do you want to go over what we have for read our disclaimer one more time and thank everyone for being here? Just the producers of the show. Here, I'll read it for you. Ideas and suggestions for the show are welcome and encouraged. We can be reached at 463-60show@excite.com. Let's give them a... we're on 8 o'clock Monday after News and Views. We have a YouTube channel. It's Point Space Counterpoint. There's no space in Counterpoint. Space 46360 show. It's a channel. It'll load all our shows. You can watch them as you like them. You can stop them. You can pause them. It's great of YouTube. Thank you for doing that for free. Again, Dwayne Perry and I and Anthony Hendricks are producers of the show. We hope you enjoy the topics of discussion, and we'll see you in 5 weeks for a wrap-up and a new show. Thank you, Comcast, and thank you, Access LaPorte County. It's great. It's been a lot of fun. We'll see you in 5 weeks.
Thank you. Watch our show and email us.